And as a mayor, how would you, address those issues? Is it simply just kind of continuing working on the organizations that you were once on, or do you create new programs, or how would that work?
Yeah, so I have three platform areas: structural poverty, alleviating it; crime, because the crime is really bad here, and the quality of life. And so I will break them down for you. So we're talking about structural poverty, and I think there's three things we need to do differently. One is we need to reform our K through 12 education. And what we have done over time is we've diminished our career and technical education. And so if we offered proper career and technical education all throughout the city and gave young people the opportunity to understand their gifts and what kinds of careers they could do, we could help them and get them excited. We could have summer work to let them try out the careers. And I'm talking about careers that make $50,000 or $60,000 a year, and you can grow from there. Things like hardware repair, electricians and plumbers, things like CDL truck drivers. There's an incredible number of careers that pay well today and have a lot of openings, and our K through 12 system does not focus on that. The second thing is the workforce system. So we need the nonprofits to partner with business, and when you're done your training, you need to go to work. It needs to be guaranteed. That's the first thing. It's not. Sometimes there's contracts where you train but no job. That's not useful. The second thing is you need a caseworker. So what we found in the training we've done is that a lot of people that live in poverty have many challenges: housing, daycare, transportation, clothes for work. If you're formerly incarcerated, it may be difficult to get a bank account. And so in the nonprofit efforts we do, we handle all that. We have a caseworker, and they line up solutions so you're free to do your work. And I want all training to work that way. And finally, it's what we invest in. So if we're going to grow the job base of jobs that pay well, that you don't need a college degree for, we should invest in them and have incentives to bring those kind of employment opportunities here to Philadelphia, as opposed to sexy things that will be on the front page of the newspaper. They're great, but that's not going to change our circumstances for people that suffer. And I'm more interested in helping them.
I have your 11-point crime plan here. I wanted to go over a few of the key ones that I saw here, which was starting with putting more police on the street. So, what would that be?
Yeah, so in the last few years, we roughly are short 1,500 officers. And people quit, people retired, and people went out on workers' comp. And it left us in a very bad position in the city, because a visible police presence is one of the things that deter crime. And the lack of a police presence is a risk to the citizens. And we see every day the risk that's had on us. And it's very disturbing. So I want to rehire them, but I want to rehire them differently than what we've done in the past. I want to add a second-tier workforce called a public safety officer, with not as stringent as a criteria. So if we get an application that comes up a little short on the police exam, we could put them in this position and train them, put them through the academy, get them remedial assistance, whether it's with their exercise, because they're not fit enough to be a police officer, or if it's with their reading, if they're a little short in reading. I mean, after all, some people, English is a second language, and they could use a remedial assistance to improve their reading scores. Or, one of the questions they ask you on the police exam, does anyone in your family have a felony conviction? From my perspective, I can't blame you for what your brother might have done, or your sister might have done, or your dad might have done. And so I would look at that question as, it's good to know, but I wouldn't hold a lot of credence in that. I have to go by you. And so my idea is to hire the people in the most diverse police force we ever had, to change our policy from you're not allowed to police your own neighborhood to I want people to police their own neighborhood, because they know the lay of the land. They know a kid who's goofing off versus a kid who's really going to hurt someone. And I think that will get us a better outcome. And I also think we'll have less divisiveness. Mm-hmm. People that know the culture of the neighborhood will not have the conflict that someone from outside their neighborhood has. And I want to train our officers to have a service mentality. So if you go into a violent situation, you don't want to come in hot. and cause escalation of tensions. You want to calm things down. And I think that's training. They need more training on that. And I think you'll find we'll end up with a fair police force, treats people fairly, but also protects our citizens and drastically reduces the homicides. And so I want to upgrade our forensics so we have a high prosecution rate. And I want to do the same thing with cameras. I want gunshot cameras in violent neighborhoods. If it hears a gunshot, the camera swings around, videos the incident, and then we have video evidence to prosecute the offenders. And I think this technology, as well as software that sort of gets ahead of crime, I think are all things we need to invest in to fix our crime problem.
And I'm just moving on your crime plan. I wanted to talk about on curbing gangs and particularly youth violence, just because there is such a huge swath of youth violence in the city. I wonder what the balance is between trying to help these kids, but also maybe not just putting them straight into the system where sometimes they can get lost. Yeah,
I have strong feelings about that because I have 4 sons. And my wife and I raised 4 sons. And my wife's philosophy, keep them busy. And she would run us all around ragged with all their sports and music and different things that they did. And that's a model of success for a young person to me. If you don't keep them busy doing something good, they'll be busy doing something bad. And that's just all kids. It doesn't matter the neighborhood. They're young and they're in formative years. And I think what this city has done is it disinvested in rec centers. It disinvested, like with the pools, they didn't have lifeguards. Libraries in a lot of the neighborhoods aren't open on the weekends or aren't open at all. And they've cut extracurricular activities like sports and art in a lot of the schools. And they basically allowed the kids not to have stuff to do that's positive. And when you're in the poorest big city in the country, people don't have the means to do that on their own. They need their city there with them. And I think it's very important we bring that back and have plenty for young people to do to make their lives better and not to let them just hang out on the streets.